Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this Fireside Talk on success stories with the EU funds. My name is Marcelline Bonneau, and I'm going to be the moderator for this session. And it is with great pleasure that we have two very experienced and knowledgeable speakers with us this afternoon. You've already met Giovanna this morning. She's working at the city of Schaerbeeck in Belgium. She's, sorry, I need to read your title, but she's a European Program and Financing Officer. And Carlos has been with URBACT for years now. I actually calculated that you've been working with, or at least your city, with URBACT since, and you'll correct me later if that's wrong, but since, well, for 10 years. And Carlos is a resilient manager at the Human Power Hub of the city of Braga, and he will also explain to you a bit more what this entails in a minute. And Braga has taken part in 7 URBACT networks. So this afternoon we have an informal discussion with our two speakers. The idea is that they can share with you their experiences of designing funding strategies, applying for EU funds, having more or less success in applying, lessons learned in general, and more specifically as follow-up from URBACT networks. So they will share their own experience. But then we'll invite you also to come on stage or to comment via the chat, to comment on your own experiences. If you want to comment and underline some of your particular activities, and or if you have concrete questions, how actually did they do it? We had a very interesting session this morning, presentation from Regina, then intervention from Giovanna. We learned lots of tips. We learned that we had to be aware, alert, creative, efficient, effective, to collaborate, to do checks and audits of skills, of capacities, to monitor the information coming up on the funds in a timely way, etc. So I'm not going to repeat the whole program behind that. But now that's your chance to say, okay, I love it, but how have you guys done it, and how can we share on this? So the entry point is really for Giovanna and Carlos to share the experience, but then it's really meant to be an open discussion. As I've already shared a few times, I'm not accepting anybody on the panel yet, but I think everybody's now familiar with this kind of session on Hopin. When we open the discussion, you can either ask a question via the chat or join the panel directly. So you will click on the blue button, and I will let you come on stage, and then you can interact directly. And I think that's it for me. I'll try not to speak too much this afternoon. The idea is that we have 45 minutes, and I will let you all talk. And maybe if that's fine with you, so I will first give the floor to Giovanna so that you can, as a follow-up from this morning, you provide a wider picture of your funding strategy, your EU experience. And then I'll give the floor to Carlos for the same, and then we can be a bit more concrete about each of your activities and strategies. So Giovanna, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Marcelline. Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be here with you this afternoon. Just a short reminder or information about the city for which I'm working. So I am responsible for European program for the municipality of Schaerbeeck, one of the 19 municipalities in the capital region of Brussels in Belgium. And now I would like to share with you my screen so that we can get through some more information about I cannot see now. 1 second.
I can share it if you prefer.
Yeah, now in the window of application, I cannot see my slides before they were available. So if you can do it, yes, please do so.
You have to open your PowerPoint first, and then you will see.
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you very much. So then I'll do this. Voila. Yes, thank you. I hope that you can see now the 2 slides. So coming back to Schaerbeeck, we are a middle-sized city, and here you can see the experience that we currently have about European projects. The service on EU fundings exists since 2018, so it's new in a way since few years, but the experience started back in 2011 with the project EU 2020 Going Local. This was a project that helped to exchange practice with other cities on climate change topic, and which has led to the climate action plan of Schaerbeeck. We also had one Finnish project on informal language learning that also now is continuing with another topic thanks to the Include Cities. So Erasmus Plus and AMIF programs have been financing projects on language for migrants. And we also currently have an Horizon 2020 project, a small one. It is a study on the concept of investment for deep renovation of buildings. And last but not least, the project URBACT, that has been a recent experience for us. The project has finished now. It is a transfer network called Making Spend Matter. And the topic here has been, and it is sustainable public procurement. So this already gives you an idea of the different topics and interest that our city has been involved and also in different European programs. About Schaerbeeck strategy related to European program and financing, this is actually a work that has started back in September 2020, when we had a first global definition of the strategy on new funds, but especially last year, thanks also to the work with an external help, Resilient Solution, we managed to define also priority of action and also clear access of work in order to be more proactive in our approach to EU fundings. And here what you can see are the 4 main axes of this strategy. I mentioned them also this morning during the presentation, but to come back to them, what we really find it's important as challenges is to create commitment from project designer, technical project designer and manager. So we need to raise awareness around what is a new project and how can be used this financing. And we have, for instance, the tool of the newsletter to help us with this axe network. The second axe, it's more about visibility externally, participating to events, and also become more known in the area, in the arena of EU projects. Monitoring, the third, it's really about following call for tenders coming up. And the last, it's capacity building. Here, what we want to provide is support, concrete support to our colleagues in our administration in order to make more understandable and easy the process of applying to European funds. I would already like to stop here and very much welcoming any questions from you, Marcelline, from the public.
Thanks a lot, Giovanna. So that's we deliberately have very short presentations so that you have we have more time for discussion. So please already share all the questions that you have. I've already noted down a few that I will be happy to ask the speakers. But if anybody in the audience wants to ask anything more concrete, please use the chat and when, as I said, I'll open the floor as well, the panel. Thanks a lot, Giovanna, and Carlos, thanks a lot for already sharing your slides, and you can go.
Okay. Thank you, Marcelline. Thank you, everybody. Saying good afternoon to all of you. It is a really nice and pleasure to come back to URBACT. As Marcelline was saying, since 2011, that I'm full committed with the URBACT projects and URBACT program, and it was an amazing journey of learning and sharing, and so it is really nice to be with Giovanna and you, having this opportunity to share a little bit about our experiences in funding related with integrated action plans, but also transfer networks and other questions. So I will start like Giovanna, talking a little bit about Braga. Braga is a city in the north of Portugal. We are quite close to Porto, and we are not far away from Spain. We are quite close to Vigo as well in Galicia. It's a very related to Europe city. So Braga was European Youth Capital in 2012, was European City of Sport in 2018, is applying to European Capital of Culture 2027. We are very strong connected with the European networks. Our mayor, Ricardo Rio, is very connected with the Eurocities network. Is also very strong on the Covenant of Mayors and other networks on European level. Our departments in the city are also very related with networks. So people are involved in working groups. The youth department is very connected with the European youth networks. And so the city is in the last 10 years very connected with the Europe value, with the Europe agenda. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about what is something that was started to be an integrated action plan. I'm talking about the project that we deliver in the Bonneau network, Boosting Social Innovation Network. It was managed by the city of Gdansk in Poland. And okay, it was the Champions League, that network. So Barcelona was there, Paris was there, Milan was there, Torino was there. And for us, the opportunity to be part of such network was an opportunity for benchmarking, to know good practices, to learn a lot about social innovation. And our integrated action plan was a little bit like this. So this was the first logo for our integrated action plan for the Human Power Hub. And we started by understand very well the URBACT lessons, and the logo is the quadruple helix. So we use the quadruple helix as the base for our IP, and the integrated action plan, it is like a dream come true. So we were able to start from scratch, design an integrated action plan, make it in a way that we involve all the city, the URBACT local group, the activists, the people involved, the municipality, the politicians, and then what this is the what we came for. So the Human Power Hub as a social innovation center in Braga. Regarding our funding strategy, I tried to use some canvas that we use with our facilities in our facilitation schemes. And for example, we are adapting the quadruple helix to our funding strategy. So we have funding strategy, for example, for the citizen helix. Portugal Social Innovation is a Portuguese impact program. We were funded by this program with a total amount of 380,000 euros for a period of 3 years. This was the way to go from sketch to action. So if URBACT is our alma mater, Portugal Inovação Social is our alma pater. So basically, it's our mother and father that make the Human Power Hub to be the space where I'm talking for you today. Erasmus Plus is also very important in order to connect with the citizens and in special with young people. But you can do this as well with universities, with adult education, with VAT education. So very interesting for us to fund our program, our agenda. So Erasmus Plus is bringing us training courses, seminars, international mobility programs, blended mobility. So we are bringing Europe to Human Power Hub through Erasmus Plus. We also have projects that were funded by the Portuguese RDF funds and the Portuguese Social European funds. So the RDF and the ESF also are important way to connect citizens with the European funding. And so in terms of our citizen helix, which is the focus for social entrepreneurship and to promoting living labs, and all these kind of things, it's the European funding is really important. In terms of the public, Alex, Portugal Social Innovation is
Carlos,
very...
I'm sorry, I will just need to ask you to be a bit briefer if possible, so that we have time to go into the details of the funding.
Very well. So in terms of very deeply, so we are approaching the fund strategy with the quadruple L. So we have one for the public, another one for the corporate. So this one is for the knowledge, and the other one for the corporate. So basically, we use the quadruple L, something that we learned from URBACT, and we draw a strategy to attract different European programs through the quadruple L. And I think for now it's okay.
I'm really sorry, Carlos.
No problem, no problem.
And you can also detail that in your answers. We already have some questions in the chat, but before that, I'd like first to ask each of you, could you please share with us one success that you had in applying for EU funds in general, or as a follow-up from your URBACT networks? So first of all, a success. And I'll start with you, Giovanna, if possible.
Yeah, thank you. For success in general related to the URBACT transfer network, making spend matter, for us it has been very important for the follow-up to create an internal working group. So this is not related to applying to fundings, but thanks to the network and to the project, we were able to create an internal dynamics involving the political leaders as well as other colleagues at a transversal working group that is working on the implementation of the strategic procurement plan that has been adopted during the project.
Thanks a lot, Giovanna. You might want to refresh your page. And if possible, use Google Chrome because we couldn't hear you well.
Yeah, so I think there is a problem, technical problem.
If you have
Marcelline, I think your connection is very bad. Yeah, can you disconnect maybe your Wi-Fi and reconnect?
I suppose that Marcelline would say, Carlos, that you can take over.
Okay, so the best success that I can mention about it's the human power of itself as a continuation of an integrated action plan. So the opportunity to pick up all the work that we deliver as an integrated action plan, have a very well done, a very well structured, and a very well participated document, was really interesting for us to apply for a funding in terms of Portuguese RDF funds and for the European Social Fund. So the opportunity to have funding to create the Human Power Hub as a social innovation center that is really well structured because of the integrated action plan, I think is one of the best success that we can talk about our experience with the URBACT program. So it gave us possibility for 2 years to benchmark, to know, to establish network, and to organize and structure a document that was very useful for us for apply for another tender. So the success story for me regarding URBACT, and we try to do this in other URBACT networks as well. For example, if I remember my generation at work that we made it between 2011 and 2013, the generation space and the people that know Braga, it's the URBACT, it's the IP of it. Okay, so the City Mobile Net also have interesting outcomes, like for example the funding on the build project. I can also talk about, for example, what we are doing now with the roof that is now building House of Skills. So having opportunity to from scratch and from the IEP to create real dreams come true, I think is the best success that URBACT can give us. And I think Marcelline is back. Woohoo!
It seems so. I don't know. Hoping doesn't like me. I have I have it all secured today. Cable doesn't work. Why doesn't? But I've changed for the information. Google Chrome seems to be better. So thank you so much. Maybe I'd like to take first a question from the audience, which was if the two of you could remind us the size of your cities and explain a bit the human resources involved in each of your units dealing with the funds and EU funds in particular. Maybe you could talk about this to the funds in general and EU funds? Thanks.
Thank you for this question. So the size of Schaerbeeck municipalities, it's a middle-sized city, around 133,000 inhabitants. Of course, what makes it peculiar is that it's one of the 19 municipalities in Brussels capital region, and Belgium, it is a federal state. So the interlink between competencies is pretty much specific to these 19 municipalities and the competencies, the responsibilities between local and regional. To come to the question of the financing team, where my service, so it's program and international, it's integrated in the grants and partnership departments of Schaerbeeck. The number of employees of the administration is 1,800, and the funding team, so grants and partnership department, it's made of 5 people. We work a lot in synergies. However, if we have to specifically say how many people are involved that fully in European projects, it's 1 person, which is me.
Thanks a lot, Giovanna. How does it look like in Braga?
Okay, so Braga is a city with 180,000 inhabitants in the north of Portugal, quite close to Porto. We are 20 minutes away from the airport that is called Porto Airport, Francisco Sá Carneiro, and we are in a very vibrant and very strong region. We are close to Spain, we are close to Galicia, and the city is also quite close to the sea, so we are in the literal area of Portugal. In terms of the way that the city is managed with European funding is quite interesting. So there is a main office that is coordinating and monitoring the implementation of the European funds, which Angela is the key person, and she's working with 3 persons. But this is related to all the kind of funds that we can identify. So mainly the national funds, okay, the ones that are connected with the RDF and also with the European social funds. Then, in terms of operational programs, for example, like URBACT or Erasmus Plus or Horizon 2020 or others, there is possibility for each department to identify a person that is more connected and linked with that experience. For example, in my case, for many years, Erasmus Plus was the reference program for me, and then from 2011, URBACT as well, but also Interreg and on other partnerships, but very connected with my field of work. So when I was responsible for the youth department, very connected with the youth programs and opportunities for young people to connect with Europe and so on. Now that I'm working with social innovation, so I'm linking more with process connected with networks as well, like the European social, the Eurocities and the Social Affairs Forum. So there are working groups that giving us possibility to have network that is making it easy for apply for funds. I can say a lot of things like this. So what happens is each department then coordinates with Angela. We see, for example, imagine that there is a tender for URBACT. We need insight to understand which departments want to apply and then to see which is the best one that in conditions to be inside the network. So coordination between different departments and this office is really crucial in order that you know what the city is involved, what are the programs that are going on. For example, at the moment in Braga, and only connected with URBACT, I'm talking about one project connected with tourism, affordable tourism, is a tourism-friendly cities, another connected with homelessness and eradication, so this is the social background, that is RUF. I'm also working with the ODS, the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Agenda and the 40 Agenda, and this means a lot of collaboration between the department funds and all these departments and politicians that are organized. And this is interesting in Portugal because we have a political responsible, that is the councillor, and then we also have the department that has office of services. And then the link between the administrative and the political is very important to link very well this experience with European funding and the coordination with Angela office that is coordinating the implementation and the monitoring of the financial execution of each project.
Thank you very much, Carlos. Danielle, I think you wanted to jump in, but you seem to be busy on the phone. So I'll remove you from the panel then, and if you want to come in again, just join. And the same for everybody. I just accepted 2 other people who left, so you can come in again. I would like to ask you a question. Can you share maybe with us one of the biggest learnings that you've had along the years in terms of skills that you needed to develop in order to look for European funds and to apply for these funds? Carlos, do you want to start?
Yeah, okay, the many skills. So the URBACT tools, the document that was already being referred to plenty of times, it is a really good resource, okay? And this makes you connecting with other tools. For example, behind me, I have my Lego Serious Play Lab. And so the opportunity to know about other tools that are emerging or other kind of techniques were important for us to also establish a kind of creativity setting in order for you to apply for funding. But there is also some things that are important. So stay focused, stay close to the relevant items that each tender is looking for, and then the connection between methodologies and something that pushes you to go outside of your comfort zone is really cool. For example, here in the Human Power Hub, we are working a lot, for example, with design thinking. We are working a lot with Lego Serious Play, but the beginning to have this mindset of openness and really looking for creative tools started with URBACT in 2011. I remember, for example, the first university that I participated, it was in Dublin, the Summer University in Dublin. And I remember the exercise that we made with the role play, with the LARP, that the mayor came with a challenge and we have to develop a solution for the city that he was the mayor of it. So this live action role play was really important for me. It was an interesting tool and competence that came and that I'm still using today. So this interesting in find new tools, new approaches, and be very flexible on the way I coordinate, for example, a design thinking and for example, a Lego Serious Play is really giving the possibility to have a visual framework. And when I need help, I know that I have my fireman here to bring me attention to some kind of things. And European funding sometimes can also be a support. So this creativity mindset started a lot. Of course, that in Erasmus Plus, this is also very strong. But URBACT, the way that is organized, the facilitation process, the quadruple Alice, Claudio was asking what is the quadruple Alice. So it's a theory that brings all together on terms of knowledge creation. So we involve the politicians, the public Alex, you involve the businessman, the corporate Alex, you involve the academy, so the researchers and educators, the education Alex, and most important, you bring citizens to it to discuss and co-construct knowledge and governance. So the quadruple Alice is about it. And we made the Human Power Hub around this quadruple Alice. So it was a competence and a knowledge that we get from URBACT that is very useful to build up our approach.
So URBACT can change lives and can change administrations. It's amazing. The URBACT methodology is applied everywhere. And so Nikolai, I think Carlos just answered your question, but if you have more questions about the quadruple helix model, please don't hesitate to come in and ask about it. So what about you, Giovanna? What, biggest learnings in terms of capacities, in terms of skills, attitude?
Thank you. Well, definitely there are several points that we could mention. From the point of view of European projects, what we see, what is really important is to understand more and more what a European project is, what can be the added value that is brought to the colleagues. Definitely one way to do is learning by doing, so joining projects. But there is a lot of work on raising awareness, communicating both at political level and administrative level. This is why we develop tools like an internal newsletter to reach out to the colleagues. We have 170 subscribers to it. Being pedagogical, also really important, and this is something also that we learn from the URBACT experience of making spend matter, from the lead expert and from the CT lead, how much is important to use keywords. For instance, we in public procurement, we used a lot the word social value. or the word leveraging effect of public procurement for sustainability. Baby step also, this is another keyword that we learn from the experience, and then also we learn as critical to bring our administration and colleagues to be more ambitious step by step in the experience of URBACT. And one last point I would like to mention is being transversal. So this is something, having transversal projects, meaning having different people with different skills. It's something that it's already ongoing, of course, so not only in European projects, more in general, but the positive experience of making spend matter showed us how much this is the way to go, and to strengthen and build up on making different people with different profile working on a topic that would eventually benefit our city.
And this morning, Regina was saying that you should start working on the funds as early as possible in order to match the your needs and the existing funding opportunities. Giovanna, you mentioned some work you had done on that. Could you please explain a bit more what the rationale was, what the study became, and how you're using it? And Carlos, if you can complete also on your approach to matching your needs with the available opportunities.
Thank you. Well, European programs, it's such a large offer and landscape that it can get really, I would even say, overwhelming when you start to look at them and try to orient yourself through this bunch of opportunities. So what we have done with the experience of an external help to help us was indeed to identify matching opportunities at European level with the local priorities, and based on this, identify what could be of potential interest for us, submitting this also to our political board that has approved it. And this strategic tool, this funding strategy, help us to better place ourselves in a proactive manner for the upcoming calls in next year. So rather than being in a position of being contacted and matching sometimes consortiums that are built really in a rush because there might be a call and you're looking for partners, we want to be able to analyze opportunities, always looking for the benefits of our administration, and being able to make an assessment upfront of upcoming calls. To complete this exercise also has given us a view on stakeholders and potential partners that we might reach out at even at local level to build up projects. Thank you.
So now you're on the starting blocks for the new programmation. Great. What about you, Carlos? How do you ensure this matching of needs and programs?
Okay, I can share again my presentation for today. So basically, we are doing this as well, for example, using the quadruple helix. I don't know if I'm not able to share now, so maybe I can cancel. So, but what we try to do is, for example, I see some tenders that are more connected for the municipality, and we do try to identify what are the relevance, what are the challenges that this kind of tender can bring for the public sector. For example, other tenders are more connected with citizens. For example, Europe for Citizens or Erasmus Plus that are more focused on young people. And this gives us opportunities to relate and to define a process that you can offer some programs, some agending and some mobility opportunities that will reinforce the work that you are doing. The same thing about organizations, about corporative sector. There are opportunities and tenders that are more focused on that level, and capacity building on, for example, the question connected with now the new European agenda, with the Green Deal, with the digital agenda, with the social pillars, connecting this with the ASG, for example, challenge could be interesting to bring the private sector to be involved on the quadruple list of social innovation or other areas. So the question is, each tender is an opportunity for you to go deeper in some area of work that the municipality can really use as opportunity to deeper the collaborative space city, to make a transition arena for some kind of challenge, connecting with the Green Deal or connecting with the digital agenda or the decarbonization or other kind of challenges that cities are facing, housing, other questions. So I think if you really have a funding strategy, then you will see things popping up in the quadruple list and see different opportunities to engage different layers of the city, from universities, from public sector, from corporate, and from citizens as well. The way that we designed the Human Power Hub, it was to connect this with the quadruple list, and to this give us more possibilities to find interesting funding and opportunities to engage more and more the city and the people living in the city.
Thanks a lot, and maybe in a wider perspective. So once again, this session is open to everybody. I do not want to monopolize the questions, so you can come in or ask questions in the chat. But in the meantime, with the new EU budget, new programmation funding opportunities, are you approaching the search for EU funds differently from previous years or previous programming period, or similarly? Is there anything that you can share with us on that? Carlos, if you want to start.
Yeah, so I was already referring the new challenge about the new budget. Okay, so the question is, we are in the starting of a new budget for 7 years, and there were some changes on the programs. Of course, in some of them were incremental changes. In other cases, we are still waiting to see what are the difference. For example, I'm looking forward to be in Paris in May to know more about the URBACT 4. So this period is a period that we are trying to understand what it changed regarding the previous budget, 7 years budget. And we know that there is new relevance in terms of what are the challenge. And the Green Deal, it's one of it. The other one is connected with the digital transformation and digital agenda, and then the social pillars. For us in the Human Power Hub, all of them are important for us because we have an approach that are connected with social innovation. So for us, we are supporting entrepreneurs in blue economy, green economy, silver economy, digital economy, tech for good, and so on, so on. So we try to, this is something that is very interesting for us. And what we see is that the funding is always an opportunity to establish network, to learn more, and to experiment possibilities. So this is an opportunity that we cannot lose, okay? And we don't know what will happen in the future with the European budget. So we have to use it, and we have to use it well, and the time is now. So this will give you the possibility for work much deeper and in a strategy base according to what the challenges that you need to solve, okay? And this is good for the 2027 agenda, but also for the 2030 agenda in terms of UN.
Thanks a lot, Carlos. Giovanna?
Thank you. Based on this strategy that I was describing before, we managed to identify different topics to which we have different approach for the upcoming financing programming. For instance, climate change, migration, digitalization are top priority for which we really want to be proactive in searching out for funds. There are other topics that we have decided to keep monitoring closely without being proactive so much, for instance, sport and culture. This is a decision that also has been approved by our city council. Also, what is important to say in terms of programs, we are going to look for funding also based on our ambitions, and we know that still learning a lot about managing projects. We rather go for being coordinator of medium-sized projects, for instance, opportunities coming more from Erasmus, from the Citizen Rights Value Program, URBACT also as partner, rather than positioning ourselves as leader in much more ambitious project as Horizon Europe, not, let's say, in the immediate term. There might be room in the upcoming years.
So we've talked about your experiences in the last 10 years, the baby steps. We talked also about it this morning. You first try and then you develop the strategy. Indeed, you don't need to become the coordinator of a very big H2020 project straight away. You can be a partner of a smaller project. Everything is possible, so that you step by step get into this approach. But when we think in terms also of funding strategy, of identifying the existing funds, putting together the proposals, then applying for the funds, implementing the projects, etc. If we look at it from really a holistic approach to EU funds management, this can scare many cities in terms of human resources which are needed, skills which need to be developed, the time it takes just to do, but before doing, or at the same time, you need to change the mentality. And we've seen also that the URBACT methodology can be a great tool in that. So what could you say to the other cities which, so not so much which don't know how to start, because I think we've talked about it already, but which are scared of not finding the adequate resources and not convincing their elected representatives of the added value of investing in those resources. Carlos, you're unmuted. Do you want to start?
Okay. So, of course, at making an application for a tender or apply for a funding, it's a lot of work, okay? You have to plan, you have to know the deadlines, you know the rules, you need to know read the tender very well, and then you need to have a good paper to apply. And this is a paper that involves a lot of skills, okay, even on the budgeting. But the question is, if you have a really good integrated action plan, you have already 80% of the project done, okay? And this is why the integrated action plan, I think it's so important, because the hard work is done, okay? And the hard work that needs to involve different people, different actors, different players. It is a collaborative process that builds up a common agenda. And this gives a lot of strength to your application, okay? Because you made a previous process to listening, to involve people, to call everybody, to make a collaborative space. And then you have a very well-structured document with the aims, with the very good diagnosis. You have action things, you have also measure activities. 80% it's done because you have a very good integrated action plan. Of course, then you need more 20% of work that is to relate the action plan or the EIP with the specific rules of the tender that you want to apply, to redefine budget and so on, so on. But the core, if you have a good IEP, is there. And so use what you have done before because it's there. So you don't need to do extra work. You just have to optimize the way you work because the essence and the hard work was done before. The IEP is that. And this was what we did for applying for the Portuguese impact program and build the human power hub. The hard work was there, okay? So we have already in our mindset. The question then was 20% of related with the relevant questions, with the priorities of the program, relate to the budget, analyze how can we adjust the human resources of it, and so on, so on. But I think that the hard work is done with the IEP.
IEPs are key, and Braga is the perfect example of it. Giovanna, do you agree?
Yes, very much. Action plan, it's a key tool also that we have seen this morning. I would probably add to another complementary aspect to the one mentioned to Carlos, which is networking. Sometimes the opportunities to join a call may come by chance, and maybe this is the first good way to start a project, so the project can finance human resources. So what is important is to get the taste from the experience and really make many people or more than one involved in the project, so that you can start to build two major success factor, which is commitment from the administrative level and also persuasion support from your political board. For middle-sized cities, I might not speak for the small one, but for middle-sized cities, having someone dedicated a full-time job, even one person, we have seen it as a critical factor of success. Of course, there might be other ways, but this is the message that we can bring for us.
One final tip or message from each of your sides. We have to close the session.
I can say keyword here, baby step, be ambitious, progressive, but start little to aim to get as far as possible.
Thanks a lot, Giovanna.
Okay, my tip is the out-of-the-box one, but it's easy. Just print a Canva from the toolbox of URBACT and invite your mayor to fulfill with you. Go to his office and, okay, help me working on this Canva. It will work.
Thank you very much. So we network, we communicate, we try and convince, we do baby steps, we conceptualize, we also frame all that we have to do. The URBACT method is key. So at the end of an URBACT network, the URBACT life is not ending for sure. There is an after URBACT life. So thank you very much, Giovanna and Carlos, for having been with us today. Thank you very much for our audience. We had around 70 people with us today, so it's great. You get the occasion to talk to Giovanna and Carlos as you wish. I think you can find each other's details via Hop-in and via other means. Do not hesitate also to share with us more widely how you're experiencing your funding strategy, your applications. It's always great to get feedback, and especially after the life of the URBACT networks. We're always keen to follow up on your activities and to see what's actually becoming a reality.